So I think that there's a question about how you want to tune that, but overall, yeah, I mean, we want to start from the baseline of capturing how people actually emote and express themselves, and I mean, I think the initial version of this has been pretty impressive, and like you said, I do think we're kind of beyond the uncanny valley here, where it does feel like you. It doesn't feel weird or anything like that.
I mean, that's going to be the meme that
it doesn't feel weird, except you're wearing a giant headset and they're not actually there. Tuning emotional states like Avatar, like this is pretty much it, folks.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically a hyperbolization of the social phenomena that you see out in public today, which is a lot of people are just on their phones, congregating together on their phones, and then that's kind of the social hangout. And so that's been socially engineered, of course, and so they're going to try and, you know, take it to the next level where everyone just constantly has something that's interfacing with their ability to perceive reality and everything within it. And if people are constantly, you know, engaging in that paradigm, then all the algorithms and the predictive DARPA, AI, avatarization formulas will then just basically be able to create a simulated real-time aggregation of all objects in the material plane. I mean, that's kind of the whole control grid writ large that they really desire, which is a totally dematerialized kind of soul harvesting program, essentially.
Well, they've already done a lot to do that in the real 3D physical realm, with predictive analytics, next best action. You know, everybody's had that kind of experience where they said something to their spouse and then they got on their phone and there was an advertisement, like
exactly what
you're talking about. I had an experience years ago where me and my wife were watching TV, and then we decided to go to the store to pick up some things from the grocery, and we found ourselves in front of yogurt that we already had in our refrigerator. And she's like, do we need yogurt? This yogurt? Are we out? And I was like, no. And she's like, are you sure? And I was like, I'm pretty sure. And then she's like, well, let's just pick it up just in case. I'm like, okay. And then I thought, you know, the last thing we saw on the TV before we left was a Yoplait or a Fahe or some yogurt company, you know, advertisement. I think we're here right now because we saw that. Like, subconsciously, we're in front of this yogurt right now because we saw that. And we ended up deciding not to get the yogurt, and of course we did have the yogurt. So, like,
Right.
They could have even gotten us the first time, like before that. The reason we had the yogurt in the first place is because of the advertising. And so that's like an example where they're trying to intersect you at the right time based on who you are, and like they try to predict these things. Now take it to the virtualization level where they have so much more capacity to observe what you're doing, what you're saying, what you're thinking, what you're feeling. They're literally talking in here about using these advanced optical technologies to scan you and different computing algorithms to map you out and then infer information from your emotions. And Zuck is talking, he just before you put your headphones on, he was talking about maybe tuning it and giving people the ability. This is one of the things they're struggling with, is how much power do we give people over this technology to like make themselves something that they're not. And he said, you know, I might prefer myself to express myself in a way that I'm not able to do physically. You know, and this is where we get into like genetic engineering as well, because this is happening both in the meta and the physical forms. You know, they're trying to drive us in that direction.
It's similar to Scanner Darkly too, if you've ever seen that one, where people can don these kind of anonymizing digital kind of rotoscope cloaks that hide their identity in the physical world. And so Philip K. Dick had a lot of very prescient. He tapped into a lot of dark technozoic egregores that have been, brewing under the surface in terms of policy and design for a long time. And yeah, this is a step towards that. I mean, if people can, assume whatever, gender expression they want, regardless of whatever their biology is, then
Right.
what's keeping people from avatarizing themselves as an elephant?
I'll
or,
say this. I mean, this might actually have lower suicide rates than gender reassignment surgery.
Well, basically, it's sort of a soft suicide, right? You're sort
Right,
of,
true.
You're sort of evincing the real in favor of this kind of copy, counterfeit simulacrum, and within this are what we call the physical plane, right? Our own, day-to-day existence could, according to the simulation theory, right, just be one hyper-realized recursive loop. And that's why there's sort of a glitch in the system, so to speak, where we can, come across the very same virtualization tech that eventually can afford what is, life itself as we know it, right? That's just the speculation.
Well, I also noticed there's a tendency, especially with the transhumanist kind of intersecting technologies, that they're always rolled out in a way that is helping the disabled. You look at voice to speech transcription and that technology. I think that was Ray Kurzweil,
right.
who's a big transhumanist, and
Singularity.
and it's initially rolled out to like help the mute, right, or the deaf, whatever the case may be, right? But then now all of our voice interactions are being recorded
Totally
and transcribed
cataloged,
and cataloged, and sentiment analysis is being done on it, and they're using that. Hey, don't you like having those product recommendations? Don't you like being served relevant advertisements that add value to your life? And a reasonable person might hear that and be like, yeah, sure. But like, is that the ultimate goal? Is that the great nirvana of this technology? Is that why it's being promulgated and funded? And
It's sort of an ancillary surface benefit.
it's
right?
the carrot. It's the
Right,
incentive of
right.
adoption. It's kind of like the whole Google paradigm. If the service is free, then you're the product, right? And most people didn't realize when they started Googling that they were actually transferring value to Google.